guys, Andy here. I'm here to bring you all things mundane and makeup related. That's your vibe. I'd love it if you'd subscribe and part of my little slice of the internet. And in today's video, we are doing a comparing palettes between the Jeffree Star Beauty Killer 2 and the Beauty Bay and Nikkie Tutorials collab. So if you want to see how we get these looks, what do I think, and am I keeping both of these, either of these palettes, then let's go ahead and get on into it. Alright, so first we're going to do the look with the Jeffree Star Beauty Killer palette, and I'm going to swatch the shades we'll be using, but this is what the palette looks like. We are going to use these three mattes and the yellow. So that is the shade Respect, Under Oath, Blow Up Doll, and Self-Expression is the yellow. So those are the four shades that we'll be using, and that's it. I'm going to do an all matte look. I might end up putting a single shadow shimmer on, but for the purposes of the video, I'm going to do an all matte look. So I'm going to really just be talking more about the palette while we do the look. Priming the eyes with my Julep shadow stick, and then we will get you zoomed on in here. Put Jeffree on this eye. This is one of the first palette comparisons that I've never used either of these palettes. I've used the Beauty Bay formula, and I've used the Jeffree Star formula, but I've never actually used either of these palettes specifically. So this will be an interesting test of formula as well, I feel. So let me get this blended out and we will get into it. Okay, so this palette retails for $45. I actually didn't look if you could still get this on his website. I don't think you can. I got mine on Mercari, so there's that. There are 10 shades in this palette in 3 different finishes. So we have matte, shimmer, and then the pearl finish. And the pearl finish comes in the matte and shimmer. So this shade, you're not really going to see it. It's kind of just to set the primer, which with those shadow sticks you don't really need to do, but it's the same color as my skin. So now, do I want to go into the pink first or the brown? We're going to go into the pink. We're going to go into Blow Up Doll. So the pros of this palette are the pan size. This is the biggest pan size Jeffree's ever had. I will tell you what the pan size is in a minute. I will flip it over. It's 25.2 grams for the whole palette, but I can tell you what each pan is in 1 second. Another pro is Vibrant Color Story, which, fair. I feel like Jeffree does a lot of nudes, so I feel like this would be a very big pro for a lot of people, that this is a more vibrant color story. The formula, as long as it's Jeffree's normal formula, then yeah. Which so far it seems like it is. Like I said, we're doing all mattes today, so I really will only be able to tell you about the mattes. I won't be able to tell you about the shimmer or pearl finishes, but so far so good. The color payoff is a pro. I'm dipping in very lightly, which is why I'm layering, because this shade is vibrant. And I would rather do layers to get it to where I want than to have a whole bunch of color pigment all at once. Because yes, it is very pigmented. So now I'm going to go into the brown. And then the last pro that I could find was just that it's a long-lasting formula, which, facts. I love the undertone of this brown. For cons, I also listed pan size because I could see some people, like especially someone who wants to pan a palette, looking at the pan sizes, which these have fully close it to look at it. 2.52 grams or 0.09 ounces per pan. So, like I said, I could just see like a project panner who gets this palette and opens it and just is like, holy shit, this is huge. And being upset with the fact this is huge, because I don't think Jeffree Star shadows are exceptionally hard to pan, but like they can be hard to pan in my humblest of humble opinion. I love this brown. So I'm gonna do something that I never do, and I'm gonna take just the tiniest bit of concealer. We're gonna cut my crease, and I don't ever do that. Because I want the yellow in the inner corner and all over the lid. Just to add a little bit of a base. And then we're going to take the yellow. But also for cons, it's not beginner friendly, which I don't see how. But that's a con that was listed. Sheer and difficult to build the shades. This yellow is, goodness. But the other three shades were fine. There's fallout. I haven't had any fallout on my face, but there was so much kick up in the pan. And then too intense, which, I mean, that's why you go light-handed, in my opinion. Wow, this yellow sucks, to be honest. Like, it's so bright and vibrant, and it's just not on eye. think that's as good as we're gonna get it. That was horrible. For the lower lash line, I'm just gonna do the other 3 shades. I'm gonna leave the yellow where it is. Oh my Lanta. That was so much. Okay. So like I said, the whole palette is 25.2 grams. So for $45, that's $1.79 a gram. For ounces, it's 111.11 ounces for that $45. So that's 41 cents per ounce. And that's really all the info I have on the palette. So let me just finish up my under eye, and then we'll move on into the Beauty Bay side. I like everything about that except the yellow. So I'm going to go off camera really fast. Like, do you guys see all the kick up? Wild. Normally I don't care, but that was intense. I'm gonna color switch my brushes really fast, and then we'll get into the other eye. Alright, and now I've already primed this eye as well. So we have the Beauty Bay and Nikkie Tutorials palette. And this is what she looks like. So we are going to use the shades Basic Trut. Is that the one? Yeah. Mila. We're going to use this pink, which is Blend and Snap, and then the yellow is VLA. So let me swatch those. Ooh, okay. And then the yellow. Honestly, super similar. The brown is a little more warm, but otherwise very similar. So we're just going to repeat the same thing on this eye. So I know for a fact this palette, I believe it's discontinued. Beauty Bay still has it as something you can look at on their website, but I believe it's discontinued as well. I got mine from DW at Deb's Beauty Diary. I will try my best to remember to list her in the description box, but if not, just look her up here on YouTube. Go check her out. She's one of my best friends. But she sent me this palette in one of our declutter boxes that we do. Alright. So this palette retails for $29 for 20 shades, and it features mattes, shimmers, and duochromes. So for pros, there's a double-sided mirror, and I actually learned that one side of it is zoomed in. So the pink side of the mirror is just a regular mirror. This black side of the mirror is a zoomed in mirror. I don't know like what the zoom is, but I didn't know that until I looked into this palette and read that, and then went and opened the palette, and I was like, oh my god, it is zoomed in. Didn't know that in the slightest. We have shade range. It is, you know, a 20-pan palette, so it's got a nice variety of shades in here. The shimmers and duochromes is something that apparently people are really happy with. And then just the pigmentation of the palette. I will say this is less pigmented than the Jeffree Star. Like, I'm really having to work to build these shades up, whereas this was just pigmented off the rip, which is why I can see why people would say that this isn't as beginner friendly as like this would be. But I don't mind having to build up color. I would rather something be buildable, personally. Now let's see this brown. For cons, limited edition. Because I know a lot of people feel a lot of ways about limited edition products, packagings, collections. I personally don't mind. Do you know what bothers me more than limited edition things? When brands bring back limited edition things. Because I feel like that's just spitting in the face of all the people that went out and bought everything the first time you had it out as limited edition. So yeah, this is definitely a warmer brown. It almost looks orange in comparison. So I'm actually gonna try to mix in a little bit of the shade 5 AM. It is darker, but it's a better undertone. Yeah, that's giving me more of what I wanted. It's just, it's darker now. But that is more similar. So I'm just gonna mix the two. Just a little tappy tap in each. Boom. Apparently a con can be the double mirror, because I personally hate it. I hate that it opens like a book like that. Apparently it has patchy mattes. I haven't seen any patchiness. We have staining, fallout, and creasing. We shall see about those things. Okay. Let me get the concealer where we need it, and we'll get the yellow on. So this palette has, before I tell you price, how much? 2.3 grams or 0.08 ounces. So just shy of the Jeffree Star palette. So it's also like very big pans. Even though they don't look as big because there's more of them, they are still bigger pans. So now let's go into this yellow. Now see, I'm expecting this yellow to need to be built up because of the formula. But it's 46 grams for the entire palette. And at $29, that's 63 cents per gram. Or if we're going per ounce, there's 250 ounces per the palette for $29. That's 12 cents per ounce. And get that yellow in the inner corner. I think this is a better yellow. it built up better, it looks better. So now let me do the lower lash line. A little dippy do. And then into the pink. I wonder if you guys can hear Blazemere galloping. I'll pretend to be a horse. Boom. So I am going to go off camera and do liner, lips, and all of that, and I'll come back and we can talk about the final review. All right, so here's the final look. So let's just talk details. We'll start with the Jeffree Star palette, of course. I loved these 3 shades. They worked fine. Phenomenal. And then we got to the yellow, and the yellow is hideous. Like, that yellow is garbage. And I almost feel like it ruins the look. So, there's that. When it came to this one, like, yes, did I have to blend 2 browns together? These 2. Yeah, but... And did I have to do extra building of the shades? Yes. But I'm not mad at how it turned out in the slightest. I think up until the yellows, they look almost identical. And then this yellow is just so much better. So much brighter, so much more intense. So, are they dupes? Yes. For these shades in particular. The rest of the palette, I went and I swatched these 2 mattes because the shimmers are not at all. But I swatched these 2 mattes and there's not a shade similar for either of those in the Beauty Bay palette. The only shade in this palette that I really, really, really love is this one right here, Guillotine Dream, because it's a duochrome. So that makes me sad. Which is better? The Beauty Bay one. We can clearly see that the Beauty Bay one is better. Just based off the yellow alone, the Beauty Bay one is better. Do I need both? Absolutely not. Am I keeping both? Absolutely not. So what's funny is this Beauty Bay one isn't even in my inventory because I have it decluttered, but I've kept it around because I wanted to do this comparison. So I'm actually going to switch these back. I'm going to keep the Beauty Bay palette. I decluttered it because I hated the way this opens, and it's a bigger palette. But this is my preferred Beauty Bay formula without the bee embossings anyway. So I'm going to keep the Beauty Bay palette, and I'm actually going to declutter this Jeffree Star palette. Now, I'm pretty sure it's not magnetic. No, so I would have to depot this shade if I wanted to keep it. And I just don't know. I could give this whole palette to someone or resell it on Mercari. I don't see the point of taking out one shade. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this guy, which is crazy. That is not the way that I saw this going, but based on my look, it is the way that it's gonna go. That is gonna do it for this episode of comparing palettes. And for now, I think this is the last one. but there will be more in the future. I just can't think of any other palettes in my collection that are similar enough to do a comparing palettes. So once I do my inventory at the end of the year, I will be taking photos, and that will probably help me determine, oh, these two palettes are similar and these two. But for now, I'm gonna take a pause on this little series, but that's gonna do it. I hope you guys enjoyed craziness, but yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.